You know, where people are discovering that if you make these things, they'll do stuff. You know, and people thought that they were simply religious objects. You know, in that way. So all those are involved in this kind of technology.
Well, there's plenty of 19th century devices that people don't know what they were
That's
used
what I'm
for.
saying.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that people thousands of years from now are going to take a look at this and say, what the hell is this? You know, they won't have a clue as to what this was all about. But some people will say, well, it must have done something, you know. But they simply won't know because that'll all have been absorbed into the technology, right, or into the world. Okay, what we're presenting here is a prototype for a mind matter interactive device, more popularly known as a psychotronic generator, or a radionics device, radio vision. There are a number of names for essentially the same thing. A history of an instrumentality that is the logical extension of mind physics, and proves that, and actually one of the basic proofs of mind physics itself. The structure of it appears to be like an electronic device, but it's actually representing a movement away from electronics, which has an energy structure that's based on modeling of water. The operator is working here and placing fingertips, usually the finger of Saturn and the finger of Jupiter. The finger of Saturn is the survival finger. Like if you're hanging over a cliff or the edge of a precipice of a skyscraper, and somebody's taking their feet with jackboots and stomping on it, trying to make you go off the edge, the last finger that will give will be the finger of Saturn, the survival finger. The index finger, or the finger of Jupiter, the finger of instructions, it has to be combined with it, because you are working with high survival energy, but you are trying to direct it for a specific thing, so that you would operate it from both the left and the right hand. If you are right-handed, this is the hand that brought the energy into the world, and this is what you're doing with it. So that having both of them operate at the same time, you're getting like this as a power supply, and this as the exit gate. In other words, this is like this finger is like your logic gate, and this is like your power supply, if you're using a computer analogy. So you're using both of these to rub on this. Now, I'm assuming that you must have objects in here, and so that you would use things like, you could use fragments of photographs. You could use any DNA from an organic substance. You could put a jewel in there. You could put something that has the beginnings of a coherence. Use like a game board, or put on the wall, and around here is a simple drawer, okay, which you can take out and will contain glass vials where you can put your own witnesses in there, and then, in other words, for use. In other words, you may collect something and you say, well, I want to use it. I don't want to use it now, but you have it ready. In other words, you can have blood, you can have fingernail filings, hair, and other kinds of samples in there. And then this section will contain an instruction book with some of the things that I've been talking about, but more specifically, place witness, A in box, in very, very simplified form. And that just simply goes. This works only when you are using it. When a human is not involved, when consciousness is not involved in this, probably animals could use this because animals can be affected by it. You could probably train some very intelligent dog to run this, and it would work just as effectively. A porpoise probably would do this.
So what is the principle behind your using blood?
It's a ferric compound. It's organic. It's basically it's an excellent electric conductor, and that it has within it electrolytes to begin with. Because it carries all kinds of fluids through the body, even when going in the brain and all that kind of stuff, so that it fractions out what it needs to create the electrical connections. So there's some kind of fluid in the synaptic connections, where there's a gap in the organic material, and then there's some fluid in between, and this stuff blood has a part of it, which when it reaches different size capillaries, only certain things can go through the holes, and those things are stuff that's used for electrical connections, and that sort of thing. I mean, nature's already worked that all out, so you don't have to worry about it. It's just that's the reason why blood, has such high symbolic value, because it allows any kind of life process to happen within a liquid. So it's like it's the ocean, literally. Only that instead of just the salt water electrolytics and being pretty clear, this has a high concentration of ferric compounds, which increase the delicate electrical connections. Yeah, it can be applied. It's just like paint, right?
Oh, that makes it easy. Laffoley red.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is excellent play. It's really excellent play. Well, I mean, think of the years of pumping vitamins into
Sure.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, think of this thing as a step towards a living being. That this is like part of the Frankenstein myth. That you are creating a living thing out of whole cloth or parts, in that way, which is literally what's going on.
In what way is it living?
Well, because it's responding to consciousness. Like when I raise my arm, that's an example of psychokinesis that's been imprinted into nature. I mean, like, I don't even have to think about it. It isn't like I'm straining to raise my arm every time I do it. It's like it's subconsciously imprinted. The molecules of my brain are probably better adapted at psychokinesis than any other part of your body, and so that's why all that stuff is in your brain. And what's going on is that the brain is then releasing the nerve system, because nerves control the contractive thing of muscles. Like if you had no nerves, all you want to go until you're dead. I mean, you'd die very, very soon. Because you've ever seen experiments where they cut the nerves off of off of isolated muscles, and the muscle tissue simply contracts like a machine until it breaks down and stops. So that what's happening is that the psychokinetic effect is charging and discharging the nerves in your brain, or brain cell activity. So that the extra, like people who are gifted in psychokinesis are actually have more of that operating than is necessary, because like nature always has extra stuff to make sure that survival occurs. And so there are things that it doesn't care. It's like you so many seeds, like a tree will send out more seeds than it'll ever grow. So that it always has this sense of abundance involved with it. So that the extra things that you can do. Like psychokinetically, it takes, people have been tested, they can produce 4 pounds per square inch in a translational motion. It takes 5 pounds per square inch to open a door. So that's a toy. So there has to be something to amplify that in another way. And so this is why these things are extensions of something that's alive, us.
Printing some touch-up circuitry. Sound on the detector plate. Start with red, black, blood, You ever summon a witness for it? Red, blood, black,
What we're dealing with here is what people would actually call magic. But if you deal with what's going on in your brain and you don't know why it works, that's magic. I mean, magic is something that you can work with, but you don't know why it works. So that we know something about the brain, we know a little bit of it, but not that much. And we don't think that the brain is magic, but as I said, that simple act of lifting your arm, you say, I'm free to do what I will, but why should my will allow me to rise my arm? In other words, but the definition of psychokinesis is a better and a more mechanical definition of why my arm goes up than saying, well, it went up because I willed it. I said, well, sure, you have a volitional nature and you had an act of free will, but why should your arm rise? What is the mechanism? Well, it's got pulleys and stuff in it. It doesn't have, it has pulleys and all that kind of thing are semblances and examples of some part of what my arm is. I mean, like when you look at the thing with leverage and where you attach things and that kind of stuff, those are all definitions that come off of us, so that they are reductions of what we are. They are not an explanation. I mean, the reason why a pulley works is more because we have an arm, rather than the other way around, saying that the arm works because it's like a pulley. So all the stuff that's going on in our brains is like the things that we're externalizing here. The point about this is that once you learn how to use this thing, you can throw it out. Because what it's doing is externalizing in your immediate environment invariances. In other words, it's training. It's like the first clue in the early 60s were biofeedback devices. You could eventually throw the biofeedback. You could learn to go into alpha. I could take that. In other words, I could do this, but by myself. So here is where the shards of this technology turn back into antiques. You say, well, what does it become after people learn how to use it? Well, it becomes art or an antique. In other words, the thing, you can always go back to it, but it is a stage in reconstructing legitimate magic, as opposed to legitimate science, put it that way. Because people claim that magic is never legitimate. Okay, now, as I said, that Reich made, said never use the aluminum because that creates the highest discharge. And I said, well, that's obviously the thing that would make a step 2 Hieronymous box work better, because you've got a higher power thing, and that the idea that this is going to be dangerous to people or dangerous to the operator, I think it's going to be more dangerous to the receiver. So that we'll have to put warning labels on it in terms of like how you use it, and then there'll have to be age restrictions. I'm not kidding.
Sure.
Yeah. Because what will people want to do with this? You got a nosy
device
neighbor,
to be used for
you got a nosy neighbor
or
that's yelling and screaming across there. Hey, you get a hair with some guy right in there. Next day he's dead. By an unexpected cut, he had a heart failure. You can't prove a thing, right? How many people would love that? The healing potential is equal. In other words, you can heal as much as you can hurt with it. So that's it, and so that its value to society is not as a psychotronic weapon. We met in 1982. Now, I thought it was at the Kingston Gallery, and you said it was here.
No, it's here.
Here, okay.
Yeah. When I first moved to Boston, I went to the Boston, what's it called?
The Visual Arts Unit.
Yeah, the Visual Arts Unit. And they have a slide directory.
Right, yeah.
I saw all this horrible art, and then your stuff showed up on the screen. And I started to laugh because I'd never seen anything like it before. And I called you up and I came over here.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the first time I met you was in this room back in '82.
And I just started valving off and all
Yeah,
stuff like that. Okay.
He talked at me.
Right,
He talked
okay,
to me
right.
a lot.
Yeah.
But we've been talking since 1992.
Yeah, that's what I remember, because now the thing with the Kingston, like, we had known each other, and you were coming with proposals and stuff and everything that you wanted to do, like, the printer, you know, the whole business like that, okay.
Because the first time I saw your art, I knew that it would be wonderful to print. So we have been scheming since 1982.
Which is not
various
quite a number
projects.
of years, yeah.
And so this project, you did the original drawing in '92, and we had mapped out the whole print sequence. Yeah, it was kind of fun too because I think you had forgotten about this project, and I showed up with the sheet that you had marked up with all your notes on it, with all the colors on it, and you were like, "Oh wow, I forgot about that one."
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun to bring this to life after all these years.
Yeah, because then it becomes a real collaboration.
You know the guy that made these boxes?
Yeah.
He flatlined in the middle of this project?
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to put the pads on to jolt him back to life in the middle of this. Steve Nalepa was saying it thinks it might have something to do with the fact that he was working on this project.
Could be. But he came back to life.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back to life. See, now there was both death and life, you know, was involved with it. Yeah. Right. I mean, all we have to do is remember and say this is for educational purposes only. I mean, this is how they sell the Copen device that has 12 dials on it, you know, and that one costs, you know, probably $7,000 or something. We're selling something that works just the same without the press. Yeah. But it looks better. Because it really is a form of tantric art. That the idea that you can keep this stuff totally within the imagery of science is nonsense. Because this is part of visionary technology, and the visionary genre is transdisciplinary. So that this is where art and science converge completely. There is no separation. That people say, well, how do you converge art and science? Right here. The other side is flat like that. So that would be pretty easy to pack that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I think we're done.
Yeah.
So where are you going to put that? And you've got homework to do. You got to do the book.
Yeah.
We also need test tubes, and we need to get more blood.
Well, oh, that's TV.